Next witness.
Mr. Chairman, committee members, Brad Wenger representing the Association of California Life and Health Insurance Companies. We do not have an official position on the amended form of the bill before the committee today. That's not because we haven't been involved in the conversation with Senator De Leon since before the first 1, 2, 3, 4. We certainly have the utmost respect for the author and his staff and his passion for the issue, which is a shared objective of the life insurance industry, which has steadily moved towards greater availability of retirement products, long-term care products. Certainly no one disagrees with the need. Our discussion of the amendments just last Thursday will lead us to some suggestions. There is a tension between what is delegated to the board and what is actually put in a statute. In the bill, there is a nudge, if you will, or a direction towards the pooled IRA investment type concept, which is relatively new or not implemented in any fashion that we are aware of. We would like to see those objectives expanded into more traditional types of investments that you will find in the market today, and would like to discuss that with the author. But again, we're certainly in favor of all of the objectives, but there are still, as the author has recognized, some very tough issues to overcome as the program is actually implemented. For example, the safe harbor that is in draft form from the Department of Labor fairly clearly would require the state to assume some risk. And in the statute from the first 1, 2, 3, 4, there's specific mention of no state liability. I'm just raising examples of things that still need to be addressed as you move towards actual enrollment into this program. It is a very difficult market to get to, but we do think that the education that would have to go into and precede any successful program will help all Californians recognize the need to start saving earlier, and to provide for that secure retirement that was spoken about by the proponents.
Next witness.
Mr. Chairman, member, can you hear me? My name is Bill Krause, representing the Financial Services Institute. They are the Association of Independent Broker-Dealers and Financial Advisors. They like to refer to themselves as the Main Street versus Wall Street financial firms. These are the people that come and sit around your kitchen table and help you work out your financial planning and help you with your financial future. We're opposed to this bill on more of a fundamental level. A lot of the testimony you've heard so far is a lot of details and how to implement. We believe there is a robust existing system of financial advisors that are in everybody's neighborhood. And now first let me acknowledge that there is a problem. And we agree with the objectives of the bill, which is to get workers to save more money and to do it in a reasonable way over a long period of time through retirement savings. However, we believe the solution is not a state-run IRA type of plan, but figure out a way to get all of those people connected up with a financial advisor. There's an entire infrastructure, a robust system of people that provide these products. They're in everybody's neighborhood. They'll come and they'll sit at your table. They don't require new infrastructure. They're there, they're ready to go to work. There just is obviously some sort of disconnect from getting those people connected with the people that need the services. And so if this legislation, we would like to see this legislation take a shift towards connecting more of a marketplace, a clearinghouse, and I understand that's part of the discussion, but we would like to see it be more of sort of a digital marketplace, if you will, where you're connecting those people and you don't have to reinvent the wheel through the state. And so for those reasons, we're opposed to the bill. Thank you.
Thank you.
Joanne Bettencourt, representing SIFMA, opposed unless amended.
Okay. And SIFMA is, sorry.
The Securities Industry and Financial Markets Association.
Okay, thank you. All right. Any other witnesses Okay, seeing no other witnesses at the microphone, questions from members? Okay, Senator Morlock?
Mr. President, I want to repeat what someone said, and that was your passion. And I really applaud you for what you're trying to do. In my first career, I was a CPA, certified public accountant, and a certified financial planner, and spoke at conferences to try and get people to save and prepare for retirement. So this is great in what you're trying to do. I'm trying to, after listening to testimony, this is where employees would have to, reduce their net paycheck by having withholdings, and so it's going to cost them something. And I'm just curious, from all of your research, why haven't they been doing something on their own with, say, a financial planning provider?
That's a very good question. And as I had mentioned originally in my statement, we currently have in California perhaps 7.5 million individuals who at their place of employment offer no type of retirement security. That's either a defined benefit pension plan, a traditional pension plan, or a DC defined contribution plan, a 401k plan. So already we have millions of Californians who have no access to any type of retirement security at their place of employment, number one. Number two, it's a highly fragmented, very hard to reach population. I do sympathize a lot with some of the folks who testified in opposition to the measure. I think they have tried earnestly to try to engage certain communities throughout the state of California, but something's not working. Something's not working because currently we have 7 million people who have no access to any type of retirement security. In fact, it's retirement insecurity. I think you heard a very compelling testimony just a few moments ago in support of the measure that the vast majority of these individuals, when they do retire, unlike someone who has a defined benefit or defined contribution or a combination thereof both at a place of employment, rare, but I used to be somewhere where they had both DB as well as DC together at the same place of employment. When they do retire, they retire when their arms or backs or shoulders or waists physically give out. So there is a serious public policy issue that's on the table before us because of the looming retirement insecurity horizon that is coming very quickly to California. Because those who don't have access to any type of retirement security obviously will be more dependent on government services. So there's a whole variety of reasons. One, I think you hit it on the dot, is the issue of poverty, because there is a deduction, whatever that frame is, whether it's 3%, 3.5%, 4% to 5%, or it's going to escalate 1% every year thereafter to a maximum of 8 or 10%. There is a real tangible deduction, if you will, from your check. You have to be. That's the reality. Whether it's a pension plan, a DC, there is a match of some sort. Again, I think a lot of it is lack of understanding of financial instruments and tools that currently exist, because there's no doubt about it. There are products today on the market. But as mentioned before, I think by someone who opposes, there is a major disconnect. There is a major disconnect. So the question here is not inventing a better a different type of mousetrap, but of actually inventing something that is a better mousetrap. If you can take advantage of inertia, behavior modification, you can actually create a generation of new savers, folks who will save over a course of time and, in fact, may purchase other types of financial products that currently exist on the market, whether annuities, life insurance, 529 plans, and so forth. May even go for a Roth IRA as well as a traditional IRA plan. Right now, we have a market, again, I want to underscore it, that's highly fragmented and very hard to reach. We believe through this vehicle, we can actually reach them, there's no doubt about it, and we can create a new generation of savers. And that's actually a very good question for the markets of financial advisors as to why this hasn't happened, because we're in 2016 right now, and something's not working right now because we have a large gap, and this is going to be a big public policy issue for us to engage with. And when I'm long gone, from this institution, for those who are still here, are going to have to grapple with this issue.
So IRAs aren't working in California, and employer-provided plans aren't working. What have we tried to do, since I'm new here, if I could still use that?
No, but you're a fiscally very.
What have we done to incentivize employers? Say, hey, do we give them tax credits? What can we do unique in California other than a mandate? I mean, is there?
I don't know. I haven't thought that much. What I've been doing the last 4 years, actually previous to 2012, working on different variations of what we have here today. Quite honestly, I haven't thought about other alternative solutions because I myself have been focused primarily on different variations of California Secure Choice. And what we have today before this committee is, I believe, a new type of product that I believe is transformative. I think it's exciting because we have an opportunity to really have a major paradigm shift. So I haven't put too much time as to what type of alternatives could be provided as a solution to deal with the looming retirement insecurity that's on the horizon.
So millennials, we saw in yesterday's LA Times, are saving more. So they've certainly watched their parents go through a recession. So there's already a habit. So they could probably participate in the plan and enjoy it. But it's a retirement plan. It's a trust, right? So if they ever have an emergency or a life occasion need, they're going to pay a steep penalty if they withdraw?
Well, that's a good question. Yeah, like a traditional IRA, like a 401k plan, like a Roth IRA, obviously there's penalties if before the age of 59 and a half. If you withdraw money from a traditional or Roth, for example, there are steep penalties. Obviously, there's a 10% tax penalty that goes with it, even irrespective of what the issue is. We're actually engaging on that issue right now. What type of catastrophic event, what type of traumatic event that is so dire that you need access to liquidate and you need access to cash to deal with the crisis that's imminent, that's right then and there. Actually, that's a very good question, and that's one of the questions that we're actually dealing with. What type of event are such? Because we want to do it in a way that you don't make it as loose, that you have the top 10 type events that you can actually engage, withdraw money from, liquidate without any type of penalty, because you want to, create, again, a generation of savers so they can, over multiple horizons, have income replacement. Not 100%, there's no question about it, because I've always been very clear. This is not 100% income replacement. This is a supplemental to Social Security. I want to underscore that and really emphasize that. But you want to be firm also, too, because if we have withdrawals constantly for a whole variety of reasons, that it defeats the purpose of actually saving. And just as a generation, as a society, we have folks on the pathway to self-sufficiency, which I think is something that you recognize highly.
So we're going to build a brand new department, and we're going to have it staffed, and we're going to work with all the employers in the state. I mean, do we have a budget of what we expect that might cost?
Right now, we're working out on the budget. Actually, Overture did a market and financial feasibility study. They have given us some estimates, some highs as well as some lows. We don't have a target number as of yet, but we will have to have a budget for the rollout. There's no question about it. You have education, absolutely critical beforehand, because there will be ultimately a payroll deduction. Education of both employees and education of both employers as well. What is their ministerial duty as an employer to their employee with regards to the payroll deduction itself? It will require a budget, but I don't want to characterize this as a large bureaucracy. We're going to run it very slim, very efficient operation, because we believe that the positive outcomes clearly outweigh minimal investments on part of the state of California to get the program up and rolling, and ultimately, as you make reference to, we will, according to Overture, be in the black in the fourth year. So one thing that we made it clear in the original SB 1234 is no cost to taxpayers, no cost that can't be recouped from the general fund for the initial investment for the startup costs. as we roll out the program.
One book that I would recommend we just give
Oh,
everybody,
please.
or even a small video, is The Richest Man in Babylon by George Clason. It's a classic. It's been around forever. But
The Richest Man in Babylon.
right,
Okay.
you can even.
Do you have a
even
copy?
looked up a few videos. Oh, yeah, I give them to my kids and everyone
Okay.
else. I should have brought a whole stack. But
If you give me a copy of that book signed, I will read it.
well, Mr. Clason is no longer living, but I'll autograph
No,
it.
but you.
Oh,
You said
okay.
on his behalf. Yeah.
Just a matter of order.
Last question then,
through the
Mr.
chair.
Chair.
Thank you.
With this being a mandate, and Mr. President, we've already got ACA, the Affordable Care Act, that's really been hammering employers, and now we're going to give them a minimum wage increase, and there's just a lot of stacking on. I'm just wondering if a first step wouldn't be just to make it a voluntary program.
Well, I think if, and I understand, and I'm respectful of your perspective, which is different than my perspective, and I understand that, you have opinions on ACA. I believe to date it has been, successful and has provided health care coverage to millions who otherwise had no access to any type of quality health care. It's a large Herculean task, no doubt about it. There's no question about it, but it's done a lot of good for society. The issue of minimum wage. I know we're not on the same page on the issue of minimum wage, but I believe that we did something that was quite historic last week. What can we do to lift people out of poverty and provide them a livable wage? And at the same time, actually, be smart about this. Let's be strategic. Because we know you can harness the power of technology. We know there'll be certain industries, certain sectors that are already vulnerable to automation. So what do? As a legislative body, do we stay static and sort of accept a fait accompli of what the reality is with sense of technology? This sector or that sector will eventually be eliminated altogether, or perhaps they don't even get to 2022. And benefit from the increase in minimum wage to $15 because that sector may be decimated or non-existent altogether. So what can we do as policymakers, both Democrats and Republicans, to anticipate in a strategic fashion which sectors are most vulnerable and therefore provide the necessary work preparation and training, working with community colleges? So it's not about raising the minimum wage in the vacuum. It's not. It's how do we anticipate the unintended consequences and work towards elevating everyone with policies that provide economic growth. It's important. So, and I thank you, Mr. Chair, for indulging me on this, because this is an important issue. We are the 7th largest economy in the world. And I've said this on numerous occasions. Probably people are tired of me saying this. And as we know that in the Bay Area, Orange County, the area you represent, the San Diego, large parts of Los Angeles, sometimes it feels like the second coming of the Gilded Age. We know we have pockets of deep poverty in these areas as well. But when we disaggregate the data and we look at the Central Valley as well as the Inland Empire, we know that good working people have not felt the positive economic resurgence of being the 7th largest economy in the world. So therefore, as policymakers, it's incumbent on us to move policies with intentionality and with purpose. Because if the market forces by themselves corrected the inequities, then we wouldn't be introducing, or I wouldn't be introducing Senate Bill 1234, because everybody would have access to some type of retirement security plan at their place of employment. The reality is a good number of employers in the state of California, to no fault of their own, it's not a criticism of hardworking employers, whether large, mid, or small business employees or employers, don't provide access to this type of retirement security for a whole variety of reasons. So I think it's incumbent on us to provide a product that is low cost, that is minimal risk, because there's always risk. There's no question about it. There's no guaranteed rate of return. That would make the product too expensive on the backstop on the reinsurance. You want minimal risk. You want to try maximize as much as value on income replacement, knowing it's not going to be 100% income replacement, but a supplemental to Social Security. And I think by doing so, you actually elevate the debate and dialogue more so, where you actually educate a new generation of folks, and the individuals and organizations actually in opposition to this measure will actually be positioned in the marketplace to sell the products that they also sell that supplement for retirement security. This is bold. There's no question about it. This is big. This is transformative. There are strong opinions across the board for it. There are strong opinions against it. There are concerns. We're going to work through the concerns in a very methodical, very tedious way. Like I said, we've come a long way, Mr. Morlock, from numerous meetings in Washington, D.C., with meeting with officials in the Treasury, at the Department of Labor, hiring a law firm, K&L Gates in Washington, D.C., to work out all the issues on ERISA. It was mentioned a few moments ago with the issue of the federal judiciary branch, having the ultimate decision. I don't know if that's going to be the case unless someone proactively initiates litigation in a lawsuit. And if we go through the appeal process and if we make it all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court, and if the U.S. Supreme Court actually makes the decision that they decide we are subject to ERISA, therefore an employer-sponsored plan, then guess what? What that means is the game is over. And participants in the program itself will be reimbursed their money. They will get their principal back, and the game is over. But it doesn't escape us that we still have a public policy issue that's looming on the horizon that we still have to deal with. And also, guess what? Any policy members that we move forward in this legislative house, as well as the U.S. Congress, is always subject to some type of litigation. There is no proof positive assurance of guarantee that someone will litigate and the judiciary branch will side on this side or that side. That's a reality, and there is no exemption or waiver to that process because that's that's the balance of power that we have between the judiciary, the executive, and the legislative branch.
Well, Mr. Chair, the president was good enough to give me a book recently, and the premise was that with every raise, then you set aside a little bit. All of a sudden, I can't remember the name of the book.
Was it Nudge?
But it was kind of an incremental approach of,
Yeah.
of how to build your retirement
Yeah.
plan so it wasn't so painful at the beginning. I thought it was.
Was
Yeah.
it Shlomo
Yeah, out of
Bernatsky?
UCLA.
Shlomo
Yeah,
Bernatsky.
yeah, you gave me that book
Shlomo
and-
Bernatsky is the chief behavioral economist to Allianz. Allianz, as you know,
So-
the German insurance
so
company.
I owe you a book.
Professor at UCLA.
So I would
And who
just
is,
say,
oh, by the way, who also is a big supporter of Senate Bill 1234.
then he might agree with what I'm about to say, and that is, if you made it voluntary, and you have the EDD that already employers are preparing payroll tax returns, but if you can start training them at smaller amounts and build them up over time, and get employers to communicate this approach, I think it eventually mainstreams real well. But if it comes in, boom, hard and fast, 3%, it's going to shock everybody. So that's my only bit of advice for you.
Well, I would say this through the chair is that you and I are on the same page, unquestionably, in terms of how do we do this incrementally with absorbing any type of shock. The shock can be and will be absorbed by the education of employers as well as employees. And we're also trying to figure out, is it 3%? Is it 3.5%? Is it 4%? Is it 5%? Can we escalate, 1% every year thereafter to make it very meaningful? How do we modify and change behaviors where all of a sudden, instead of being over consumers, that folks now have realized, when I turn 65, that I don't want to work well into my 70s when my back gives out physically. I don't know how much income replacement I have, what my risk ratio is in terms of investments, because I don't have high education attainment. When I have an array of products that are before me, it's very confusing. What's a simple, Keo? What all these products? It's very it was confusing for me when I was growing up. Well, not growing up, but I remember, and I'll say this: when I was in the HR's office, Human Resource at the National Education Association, they said, "Here's a defined benefit program." Fantastic pension. I didn't know what it was, but good. And then we have a DC program, 401k plan, and we have a fantastic employer match. And my idea at first was, I don't understand what a 401k plan is. What is this? He says, well, we'll subtract money from your check and we'll match it, and it's a really fantastic match. And it says, No way, you're crazy. You're going to take my money and you're going to give it to someone else who I don't know, and they're going to invest that money. That's outrageous, you know. And that was coming from someone who had a college education, but not very financially literate, and someone who, and these are the realities of someone who was raised by a very smart woman, a very dignified woman, but a woman with a third-grade education, who couldn't inculcate into her son the values of savings, and these are the types of products. So I think that we can really help a generation, Republicans, Democrats, decline estates, agnostics, independents, and this could be very transformative to those individuals who are in opposition today. I believe this will benefit for them in the future.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you,
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Wong.
can I start asking him the hard questions now? No, I'm done. Thanks.
No, you can answer any questions you want.
If you have any
please.
questions.
More than happy to answer.
So I asked all the ones you asked me to ask you.
Okay.
Okay, all right.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions from other members? No? All right, well, first of all, I just want to thank you so much for bringing this bold proposal forward. You know, I have a couple of stories. I'm going to keep them very brief because I know everyone's, but, you know, when I started my residency, which was after medical school, so you're talking about people who've got MDs, they're not, you know, somewhat educated. And I remember, yeah, I know, some question, especially on financial matters, but, and I remember the presentation the hospital gave us during our orientation before we started, talking about, essentially we had an option of as a 403B because we're a nonprofit in the hospital. And I remember my colleagues in my residency class laughing about the idea of putting something in retirement at that time because they were under debt for medical school and so forth. But I decided to put a little something in, and it turned out there was a match, which they told us about, but I don't think anyone remembered. And actually, I remember when graduating residency, about 4 years later, people said, where'd you get all that money from? I said, well, I just put in a little something. I didn't have a lot. I think I put like $25 a month or something. It wasn't huge. And it turned out to be something by the end of, and we all know that people should start retiring early. So sometimes thinking that far ahead is difficult. And then on the flip side, I know that you talked about, now I'm a small business owner, with my wife. And we're trying to set up, we've been trying to set up a retirement thing, partially for her, but for her employees as well. And it's not easy. I can see why a lot of small businesses, and I know there was this witness from Small Business Association, why a lot of them don't do that because I'll tell you, it's a pain in the neck. And it actually costs us quite a bit of money, too, to try to get the thing set up.
So.
And, and people don't always stay in the same job all the time. So and I think we see this greater mobility between careers, between jobs, and so forth. So this is really about scale, right? You have people who don't make enough that people are very interested in managing their money. And the overhead would, if they did it on a one-on-one basis, would be very high. So basically it would all evaporate in that process. And so the idea of being able to take advantage of the scale of the state, the advantage of having something that's independent from your direct employment, I'm sure that you can answer this question in close. I don't think we're taking away any retirement options from anyone in this bill that I understand. Yeah, so if they want, they can still do a 401k, IRA, whatever else, pension, whatever else they currently offered. And so I think this is certainly something that's worth moving forward. So with that, I want to thank you so much for bringing this bill forward. And I'll entertain a motion on the bill.
Move.
It's been moved. All right. So with that, Secretary, please call the roll.
Motion is due pass and be referred to Appropriations Committee. Pan.
Aye.
Pan, aye. Morel. Bell. Aye. Bell, aye. Hall.
Aye.
Hall, aye. Morlock.
I'm a no until amended.
Morlock,
I'm going to
no.
affirm you, though.
All right. Well, it's 3-0, but we will hold it on call for.
I'm a no.
Doesn't matter. Okay. It's 3-1.
I can't get you on a neutral.
It's
Just
a
neutral.
3-1, and we will hold the roll open.
Big stretch a little bit.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks very much. Okay. Okay, so the sergeant just asked that we wait a few moments to allow the room to clear, and then Senator Hertzberg, you'll be next.
Good morning.
Okay.